in heaven, if we're not going to sin, we're not going to have sinful thoughts, bad thoughts. How did Lucifer think to go against God? How did he decide that he wanted to be God if he was in heaven and we're not going to have sinful thoughts? And then with that also goes with angels. How do they decide to go with the devil? And then is there free will in heaven? Are all angels in heaven, or are some outside the realm of heaven? And then how can angels switch from going inside heaven to outside the realm of heaven?
Was this 8-year-old a demon?
Good morning, everybody. I'm in my garage right now just because I'm about to wipe down the car. It's pretty dusty. The video that you're about to see here is a pretty good video, very short, but very to the point. The lady that asked the question it's a question that I think most people that believe in God, especially as a child, you can probably imagine this question. And it's very interesting. She really makes Frank Turek guy just stumble, and it turns very comical to me. And you'll see it. I hope you comment or tell me your thoughts on it, or tell me if you think I'm wrong. Tell me if you think he answered the question well, and I'll talk to you at the end of the video. Thanks.
In heaven, if we're not going to sin, we're not going to have sinful thoughts, bad thoughts. How did Lucifer think to go against God? How did he decide that he wanted to be God if he was in heaven and we're not going to have sinful thoughts? And then with that also goes with angels. How do they decide to go with the devil? And then is there free will in heaven? Are all angels in heaven, or are some outside the realm of heaven? And then how can angels switch from going inside heaven to outside the realm of heaven?
Was this 8-year-old a demon? Gee, what kind of question? Wow.
I know, right?
That kid is thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, those are great questions. And I think when it comes to how could Satan have fallen being in the presence of God, first of all, the Bible doesn't really tell us, right? In fact, we don't even know how many angels went with him until you're in Revelation 13 or something, right? There's not a lot in the Old Testament about the fall of Satan. Some try and say, well, it might be embedded in, Isaiah 14 or Isaiah 28, and that's disputed or not when it talks about the king of Babylon and all this. But we don't really know. The Bible doesn't tell us. Although it seems to me it would make sense that in order for God to give these creatures free choice, he had to have some distance between them. He had to give them an opportunity not to see his full glory, but to give them an opportunity to make a decision whether they're going to follow him or not. Because freedom requires the ability to make a choice one way or the other. And if God overwhelms them with his presence, then they might not have that choice.
So is that heaven and the heaven we're going to be in, are those going to be are those two different heavens?
Oh, you mean in the previous?
Yeah.
Well, it might not be. Well, our ultimate heaven is a new heaven and a new earth. Yeah. So before the universe was created, God was in heaven, so to speak, his dwelling place. God creates the universe, and heaven ultimately is going to be a renewed earth and a renewed universe where we're going to have physical bodies. We're not going to be Casper the Friendly Ghost. We're going to have physical bodies, glorified bodies that never decay. That's our ultimate destiny. Now, people that die now, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. They, in some sense, go to be with the Lord now, but that's not ultimate heaven. Ultimate heaven is a physical place, not an ethereal place. So it's a different place than where Satan and the angels were, because that was an immaterial realm. This is going to be a physical realm, ultimate heaven. Now, will we have free will in heaven? It seems to me we will, but we'll have, first of all, we won't have a sin nature, and secondly, we won't have any desire to sin because we won't have any need to sin, in the sense that we won't want anything we don't have. We'll have everything we need. The reason we sin now, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, is usually just one of three things, or a combination thereof: sex, money, or power, relationships, finances, or pride, or power, those kind of things. we take shortcuts to get those good things. Those are good things, right? Sex, money, and power are good things. But we take shortcuts to get them here on earth because we don't have them. In heaven, we won't have any deficiencies. We won't have any need to sin. We'll see God for who he is, 1 John 3, 1 and 2, the beatific vision, and there won't be any need to sin or desire to sin.
So with Lucifer, so that gets me thinking, did he actually create / start sin, or was it there before? Was it called sin? Was it something that God was what he did? Was it sin?
Lucifer's free choice to disobey God was sinful, yes.
So
and Adam and Eve.
So did God create sin?
No. God creates the possibility of sin by giving us free will, right?
Yeah.
But he's not the sinner. Just like when we have children, we create the possibility that children will sin, but when they sin, we don't cause the sin. We just create we're the instrumental cause through which God creates people. And when we choose to have children, we're not causing them to sin, but we're, by creating them, giving them the opportunity to sin.
Hey, hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me give my little breakdown of the video. I think at the beginning, what frustrated me, and which I thought was just like a horribly evil comment, even though he tried to make it like it was a joke when he said, "Is your child a demon?" And the lady laughs, but I feel like it was a laughter of kind of like embarrassment or not knowing how to react to that, because that is kind of an evil thing to say. I think this guy is kind of evil myself, but that's a whole nother subject. And let me know what you think about that. I thought that was just a horrible thing to say when this lady is asking a question for her 8-year-old, I believe it was, or a child. She's obviously having issues answering that question that the child might be asking. For him to be so non-empathetic to that is kind of weird to me. What is the next one I have here? The next question that she asked was pretty interesting to me, about how could the devil have sinned if he was around God, right? And heaven is supposed to be this place where you can't sin in the presence of God. That's what we're told heaven will be when we get there. And one of the questions that's always asked is like, okay, well then why didn't God just make heaven now? And the excuse that Frank has given before was the excuse of, well, God, the only way to have free beings is to allow the option to sin. So Adam and Eve were also in the presence of God, and they were still able to sin, which he uses as one of his examples on why the world is the way it is. But if the devil was able to sin too in heaven, then how is there going to be a heaven that's created later where no one can sin and still have free will? This is one of those contradictions that I see a lot of preachers try to answer, and they try to answer it in that same way. And it always just goes down to the blame is on you. The blame is on you, not the thing that created everything. The blame is on you. And he tries to use examples of when you have a child. This is totally different, because if you could keep your child from ever doing anything wrong, if you had the power to do that, I'm pretty sure everyone would do that. And you would still love your child. If I had the power to keep my children from getting hurt, I sure would do it. And I mean like a magical power. We're not talking about human power. I hate when people try to compare what we do as humans to what a god would be able to do. And that seems to be the only way we can answer these questions that don't make sense from our reality. Like, our reality doesn't make sense that God couldn't just fix everything. So what we have to do is compare it to what we would normally do. We're limited creatures. We're talking about a being that is unlimited, right? So I hate when those comparisons are made because they don't make sense. But if you rewatch the video, that's kind of the only way he can explain these contradictions that are going on. And Just because you believe does not mean you need to believe these stupid answers. And I think that's my main point to that. So yeah, let me know what you think. Comment, like the video. Um, I'll probably have another one for you. I'm like, these are just all in my feed, so there's a bunch of them. I'm sure I missed some of my thoughts, and if I think of any, I mean, they'll come up in another video. This is kind of organic. I like it to be just my thoughts, like in the moment. I wrote down some notes, but I try to keep it, kind of natural. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll see you in the next video. Much love. Peace.